What if the Cullen women were kidnapped to create a new supernatural species? Let's see. I am sleepy right now, so let's get started. The room has spots. It's bright and it hurts slightly. Heat is comfortable. Air conditioning might be possible. The silence isn't there because several voices say that they're afraid. They want to go home. They're hungry for real food. Someone begins sobbing and Esme blinked several times and see that a light is shining down upon her as well as her daughters. Rosalie is screeching non-stop and the people, whoever or whatever they are, put her into a soundproof container. Bella and Alice on either side of Esme and they are awake and they appear calm but really they're terrified, petrified most likely. The room they are held in is a large rocky, apparently underground, room with electrical setup and even computers and swivel chairs. Esme sees about a dozen women in total, including the Cullens, are being held captive and each in separate containers. Looking closer, Esme sees two of the females are visibly pregnant and not that far along. Bella is crouched on the floor of her circular holding prison, which is only about 5 feet in diameter and 10 feet tall with a ventilation shaft in the center of the cage in each holding prison. Through these vents is recycled air processing through as well as an invisible G. As that enables the women to never feel hungry. Esme Cullen, married to Carlisle Cullen, has been kidnapped and she realizes that, but that doesn't upset her as much as she realizes it should because her own daughters have been kidnapped as well. As a mom, that pisses her off. They aren't here for interrogation. They aren't here for medical experiments. Esme glances at the two pregnant women there. Faces whenever they look down tell Esme that they are here to be impregnated by someone or something. Esme's sweater makes her shiver. Her jeans cause goosebumps to rise on her legs. Unable to remember what happened, Esme recalls that she told her husband, Carlisle, who'd just come home from work, that she was taking the girls and they were going to go hunting for a couple hours since Esme and Rose Allie needed to and Alice and Bella were bored. Carlisle had smiled, gave her a bedroom kiss and touched her face ever so gently. Told her to have fun and be careful. Esme wrapped her arms around his neck and kissed him back, saying he loved how protective he was. The 6 kids, who'd peeked, groaned and Emmett said something that Esme didn't hear. Whatever it was got Bella and Alice to laugh. They took off alone with just the 4 of them and then an hour later Esme heard movement and then nothing. Everything went blank in her memory and her mind was all black. Alice paced as Esme stood looking around, studying the surroundings. Bella sat and tried to also concentrate on something and Rosalie, on her other side, was completely silent until Alice looked again and saw they'd placed her into a soundproof container. She was yelling by the looks of her quickly moving lips. Alice is well educated on the supernatural world that they live in. She knows that they are 14 prisoners. 2 are pregnant and they are sirens. Creatures who sing to lure men to their deaths. 2 more sirens pace unconsciously in their prisons. There is 1 Gorgon, think of Medusa, who can turn a man to stone. And he makes eye contact with her and no doubt she's tried very hard to do just that. 3 appear to be human but then Alice sees small slits in their backs, red eyes, and small feminine horns from her foreheads and comes to terms that they are demons. Then 1 angel, a female servant of the gods Zeus, God probably Poseidon, Odin and so on. The last female is a gargoyle turns to stone Durin. The day in the position she is in when the sun comes up. Right now it must be dark because she's walking around with pointed fingers for claws and talon toes and even a tail. Her prison is a little bigger because of the large wings with the green-gray skin. Scowling and looking at Esme, the pixie vampire is thankfully able to tell Esme who is with them and the numbers of each species. Are you sure? Alice nodded. Pretty sure. Alice, what do we do? I don't know. Is Bella all right? Panic attack, Esme said, and Alice can only try to keep Bella sane long enough for their husbands to find them. Thank God Nessie was away for a human life in college. Bella honey, it'll be all right. Alice heard Esme say. The door opened and in walked the devil and his advocates. Lucian, the leader of the Budapest warriors, told them that the Eye has foreseen some more kidnapped women in a tavern hidden underwater. Danica said that there will be a few of them this time and to be prepared for a fight there'll be several more hunters than usual and 2 of the females are pregnant. Maddox and Torin were staying behind, this time only to defend the fortress with Amon and Cameo. Gwen was going with them Sabin T. O rescue the women because she knew what it was like to be kidnapped by hunters. They figured out the location was off the coast of Florida, so that was where they were headed immediately. Anya was excited to go kick hunter ass, but because Danica said that they'd be so many, they called their fellow hunter hater Aline Grant, who was also an immortal who'd been kidnapped by the hunters when she was 16. She escaped 2 years later and saved the rest of the women. Aline is a powerful witch said to be descended from Merlin, and her grandmother was supposed to be a vampire so she didn't age. Al-In was powerful in the magic and a good fighter with fists. Aline met them in Florida. Lucian greeted her and she greeted the others, and she and Anya and Gwen hugged. Thanks for coming, Aline. Magic might prove useful. I hope so, she said. Her long white hair was what had her stand out in a crowd. Her eyes were bright green and her skin was flawless with scattered scars on her back and external wounds on her back from her past as an abused foster child. She's grown up knowing family can get someone killed. She had the proof when she slowly died a little each day. Her damn teachers and friends never saw the signs, although she tried to tell them without actually verbally telling them. Her foster family used magic too. Let's get these fuckers, she mumbled to Anya and the goddess no. Deed, and they skipped forward only to have Lucian and Strider pull them back. What? Not yet. We need to make sure it's the same place. Aline, can you create a thick fog? She smiled, and we're by the ocean. This should be fun. She smiled and raised her arms to the skies and chanted words they weren't familiar with, and instantly a thick, almost black fog began to sweep the water and come towards them. Aline's black clothing helped her to blend into the foggy mist, and they shivered except for Aline. They knew her location because of her glimmering white hair. Lucian thanked her and she nodded. Anytime, Lou, she said, and Anya giggled as she pulled out a 6-inch curved blade and handed 2 to Aline, who never used weapons, just magic. Just in case. Anya nodded. Thank you, she said, and concentrating on the spell for the mist she followed them into the tavern last with Strider and Gideon. It was dark enough in the tavern that Aline stumbled and had to grab Strider's arm several times before he finally let her jump on his back. They've always flirted in small ways like that. Then they heard screaming, the screaming of a victim and a sexual predator, as he laughed. Esme, Rosalie now finally silent, Bella, and Alice stared in horror as the angel was pinned down by 4 oddly smelling human males as a 5th raped her, opening on the dirty floor. Sobbing, her legs were pinned by 2 people and her arms as well. Esme covered her mouth and Alice wished she could look away. Rosalie would gladly kill them and Bella wished Edward was there, please Nessie wasn't. The man raping her smiling. You are such a pretty angel, aren't you? He said and ran his head over her shining blonde hair, and he pressed a kiss to her cheek. Bring me another, he said and looked at Rosalie. Esme growled and so did Alice and Bella. Rosalie flazed her fangs and the man chuckled. I have a schedule to keep, he said, not bothering to put his piece away as all 4 men dragged her back to her prison as the other females. Even the 2 pregnant sirens snarled and threatened them. Kidnapping an angel was punishable by death. Raping meant torture for all eternity in Hades and eventually a slow death. The angel was begging that they stop. Hurry it up. Demon or the gargoyle. Sir, we have visual of intruders. Sorry intruder, it's a female. Get her and bring her to me so we can play. Aline slid off Strider's back and told them to hold back. She saw a camera on the top of the cave leading into what she was hoping was a large room. Lucian looked back at her. Let them take me, I'll take out as many as I can. Lucian shook his head. Aline, that's too dangerous. I like to do this, Lou. I'll be fine. I have magic and chances are they doesn't know me and what I can do. Voices began to surface and Aline pushed him away. She removed her weapons and pushed them into Lucian's arms and she went ahead. Don't come until I tell you. We can't risk that they have someone free and might use her as a shield. She didn't wait for an answer. just spun and went forward several feet, and they heard her talking, but her voice was too quiet for them to actually hear what she was saying. Aline Grant was once a daughter, and once upon a time she loved her family. Now as she was dragged into a large tavern, she saw that were 13 females and of a half-dozen different species. She saw an angel on the floor, unconscious. "Who are you? How did you find this place?" "I explore the beaches. I'd heard of a cave," she stammered and whimpered when a tall man came forward and she was pushed to her knees. Several of the females growled. The gargoyle scratched at the glass, but nothing happened. She knew the gargoyle. Her father is the clan leader and they live in Paris, France. They were old friends. "Please, I won't tell anyone. For some reason I don't believe you." He smiled and Aline looked around. Danica was being kind about her estimated number of hunters. There were about 30 men and each held a gun, handgun, and 4 knives, 2 on each leg. She blinked and the computer turned off, and she looked at the man and blinked and the computer turned on again. "What happened to the computer system?" "I don't know, sir. I'll check it out," another said and went to look at them. "I don't know how you found us, but you won't be leaving." Aline fell back and crawled away from him. "No, please, my parents will start wondering where I am. Please let me go," she cried, and when he started to come forward, Aline buried her face in her arms on the ground and whispered chants, and she smiled when she heard the guns going off. Hey, knock it off," the leader shouted, and Aline looked up and went over to the angel. "Empty the gun barrel of the bullets. Something must be wrong with it." "It just started going off," the holder of that gun shouted. "Hey, get her away from her." They all turned as Aline began whispering spells to help her heal and forget what had happened to her. The angel pried open her eyes. "What happened?" Aline lowered her voice. "Get into your cell and stay quiet. I'm here to help you," she whispered, and the angel jumped up and ran into her prison, but the door didn't close until the man at the computer closed the door. "Get away from them." He aimed a rifle at her. Aline raised her hand and the gun flew out of his hand. Then with a swift twitch of her hand all the guns flew out of their hands and were aimed right at them. The angel laughed and came right out again. Aline smiled and looked at the man at the computer. "Unlock the cages, now, or you'll see what a massacre is like. They're dangerous." "I very much doubt that." "Of course those demonesses looked pissed and hungry," she said as all 3 demons growled and licked their lips. She held her hand steady and with a movement the guns cocked, getting ready to fire at their owners. "Unlock the cages or I blow their heads off, it's that simple. Which would you rather take?" "I want the leader who raped the angel," the blonde demon growled, and the angel gasped. Aline nodded at her and she clapped her hands. "Is that necessary?" Esme asked. "What about the police?" "Vampire," Aline told her. "The police won't give a damn." One gun went off and Ice cried out when the bullet went right through the eye of one of the hunters. "Open the damn cages." Another went off. "For every minute you waste, one will die." 10 men were dead by the time he opened the prison doors, and the 13 females came from the cages, and the 2 sirens went to the 2 pregnant ones. Aline stepped towards them. "Who's the father or fathers?" "Their leader," they whispered. Aline nodded. "Go for it, demoness," she said, and the demon went to the leader, who shouted and scrambled back and tried to run for it, but the lords had been waiting and grabbed him. "That is mine," she said, and Lucian handed her the human. He shouted, "I am saving this world of your kind. You'll never stop us," he shouted as she tore into his neck, and Gwen and Anya winced as they came into tavern, and they stopped when they saw the guns in the air. "Aline, you did good. Let's get the women out of here," Lucian said, and they nodded. "Ladies, we're the lords of the underworld." They looked at Aline. "You can trust them, they're allied." Lucian, the man in front, and Anya, she nodded at Anya. "We'll take you home, a species at a time." The sirens went to Anya instantly, who greeted them kindly. "Hello ladies, I'm sorry we didn't get here soon enough," she said, and took the 2 pregnant sirens and held their hands as the other 2 just held her arm, and they disappeared. Lucian took the Gorgon. For about 5 miles, newts, they disappeared and returned until it was just the gargoyle and the 4 vampires. Lucian went over to her. Put the guns down, Aline. No, she answered. Take the vampires home. They aren't leaving. They say that they have a friend in Jacksonville. They'll use a phone. Teleporting must make them uncomfortable. We can hear you, Rosalie growled. Lucian sighed and looked back at them, the hunters. We're silently waiting for them to either die with bullets or get their throats torn open. Aline, release them. We'll take them to the fortress and put several to a cage of our own. No, she answered again. This time, she said and recocked the guns that had fired. I'll do it my way. There's one to a hunter. She looked at the vampires. Either leave or turn away. What is she going to do? Shoot them, Gwen whispered. Aline has history with hunters, she said sadly, and a minute later 30-odd guns went off, several times. Lucian tackled Aline to the ground and she flung him off her WITH a magic word and he flew into Gideon and Reyes. With the hunters all dead in that tavern, Aline stood and slowly waved her hand and the blood and bullets. The bodies remained appeared to have been drained of blood. She turned on her heel and walked out of the tavern and Esme stared after her. I can assume her encounter with those men weren't the greatest of memories. Her memories aren't the greatest to begin with, Lucian said. Come on, I'll take you home. I might make you a little nauseous for a couple minutes but it'll pass. He promised. Carlyle and the boys had been searching for 2 days. The forest held no sign except various footprints from animals. Scents of several men, but that could just be hunters. Then his cell phone rang and it was a sobbing Esme. We were kidnapped. She cried and Bella, Rosalie, and Alice could be heard in the background saying they'd never missed home so much before in their lives. Carlyle, where are you? Looking for you, he said, and Edward and his brothers took turns talking to their wives for only a couple minutes before they hung up the phone and raced home to their wives. The end.